Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. I'm Jason Schreier, this year's chair of the Community Committee, City Councilor for the Elmwood East Kildonan Ward. I'm joined as well with Jeff Berwadi, City Councilor for the North Kildonan Ward. And at this time, Clerk Harris, where do we go from here regarding?
I'd like to move a couple motions to start. Maybe I'd like to move a leave of absence motion for Councilor Wyatt for illness.
So moved, and motion carries.
I'd like to move that we add an addendum delegation, addendum number 8 for the clerk read the name into the record.
It's Naveen Ramaswamy.
In regards to report number 8?
In regards to report number 8, correct.
Oh, maybe I should have the other way around. I'd like to add that we accept the addendum agenda for report number 8.
Sure. Okay, motion's being heard, motion carries.
And then I'll move the additional delegation for the report that now exists.
Okay. Motion is heard, motion carries.
Okay.
I would like to acknowledge that we're on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40, First Nation, and Treaty 3 territory.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the meetings held on January 27th, 2025, February 24th, 2025, and March 17th, 2025 be taken as read and confirmed.
I'm going to catch up. Okay, motion carries.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the Residents Advisory Meeting be received as information.
Motion carries.
Okay, I think now we're ready for the delegations.
Okay, so this time we can go into delegations. We will call forward first Melissa Nearing from McGowan Russell Group, speaking to plan approval 1555 Regent Avenue West, report 7, file DASZ 273/79. Is Melissa here today?
If there's a group of you coming together.
Yeah. Are you all presenting together?
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, in that case, this is Melissa Nearing, Raymond Wan, and Michael Chan.
Okay, if I go first.
I think so.
It's not a problem.
That'd be great.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name and address, and we'll go from there. We're working together. They got 10 minutes, but there'll be room for questions as well.
Yeah, okay.
So plans to share with us, sir?
Huh?
You have plans there to share with us, sir?
Yeah, we have plans. It's the same thing as I submitted. Okay, we just made extra copies.
That'd be great.
For clarity.
Thank you.
And we also have the electronic presentation,
Okay, great.
just in case you have a question, I'm assuming.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ready?
We'll get you to share the screen on Zoom as well.
Sure.
Those who are remote.
Where's the share button?
It's on the bottom. It's the bright green one.
Yep.
You are Michael Chan?
That's right.
You're Michael Chan. My brother-in-law is Jason Michael Chan.
Oh, really?
That's all. He lives right behind Columbus.
We can start now. My name is Ray Wan, principal of Ray Wan Architect on 50 Willow Avenue. Today we're in front of you for plan approval, but the next phase is a phase that got interrupted by the pandemic about 5 years ago. It was supposed to be originally part of the phase where we built Cineplex and Safe on Food as one big phase with the new food court and some new CRU space. But because of the pandemic, finance and the market change, we scaled back a little bit in terms of building footprint, consolidating a bunch of CRU within the existing building, and demolished the triangular portion towards the north of the existing previous Cinemaplex cinema facility, and increased the parking to the north in order to plan for future expansion towards the north along Reindeer for future path development. We're in front of you for plan approval only. There is no variances. There is no other zoning application other than plan approval. We have met with the city councilor, the area councilor, Russ Wyatt, a couple of occasions and gave us great input, and we have responded back in detail on drawings and a 2-page memo sent back to his assistant on March the 13th. There is nothing controversial. There is nothing that of concern from our perspective, because the whole plan was previously approved when with the previous area councilor. We are trying to engage the commercial aspect of it, densifying the commercial use of the land, making space, planning for long-term densification for multifamily housing to the northeast corner of our site, which is the upper corner of the presentation page. Michael, you want to talk a little bit about your design approach?
Sure. Well, do you want to go for the landscape first?
Sure. Okay.
So the first plan that was up was the landscape master plan, just showing the overall landscaping for the entire site based on our analysis of the landscape stats and existing trees on site. We are meeting all landscape requirements for street edge, building foundation, and parking requirements. And then this slide here shows the landscape site plan. So the proposed area that we're looking at is highlighted in purple. The new parking area will be accessed from an existing approach on State Pond Road to the west, as well as Rangers to the north. There is an existing approach that will be closed along Rangers just to allow for better pedestrian access and vehicle flow through the site. The design also provides a strong pedestrian connection along the north side, connecting from the new cinema to the new entrance to the mall on the east, as well as having two linear pedestrian walkways running through the parking lot to connect up to readers. As I mentioned, we're providing all building foundation and parking foundation landscaping. We're also proposing bike racks along the north side of the mall near the entrance, as well as an enclosed bike locker closer to the Cineplex. And the next slide just shows the parking analysis for the whole site. Based on our calculations, we're providing more than the required amount of parking throughout the entire site, both before and after any allowable reductions.
So in terms of the change to the mall, you're doing away with the big loop. There was going to be a loop at one point, I thought.
In general,
Yes.
we still have a look.
So this is the new floor plan. We have eliminated, there was two corridors that used to Y, and it would lead to two different parking pools, but we've actually eliminated that main corridor and made a large trunk. This used to be an addition at one point.
Yeah.
But the building scope now is more focused on renovating the existing section. We've eliminated the Cineplex.
Right.
And created a new access corridor that goes north-south as opposed to Wying.
Saying about the mall walkers, they like to be able to make a circle probably. No?
Yeah.
Not right now. The chunk of addition to the north of the existing wall got removed as under the scope of work.
The previous application had it as a
Yeah,
as
a
a goal,
loop.
but
Yeah.
and we've sort of made accommodations for it in the future, but right now it's more just renovating existing food court.
So this is basically leveling the cinema, because those are difficult to do. If it's concrete on an angle, you gotta.
Yeah, and so we had to adjust a portion, like the building structure is
Right.
at 45 into the existing building. So we are infilling a small section, creating a new facade on the north side, which mimics the new facade that we put on at the Cineplex, the new Cineplex.
Oh yeah.
And we've created a brand new food court that has 10 units,
Nice.
4 unit stalls, additional CRU space, and we've increased the seating capacity to 550.
From
I think it's around like 250, 300. Yeah.
feels pretty big already. So
Yeah.
pretty good.
And then we also will be updating the washrooms and the office space.
Okay, good. Thank you.
The new food court will mimic the outlet malls down south end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this open space.
Nice.
I always liked the plant garden in the middle of the food court, and then that was gotten rid of. I'm not complaining too much. Finally, one and only chance to.
Well, we are keeping that high ceiling section.
Yeah, okay, that's nice.
So that will all remain. Some of the skylights will remain as well.
Is that what they show by the octagon, within the octagon
Yes,
in the
that's
dotted
the
line? That
section.
is the sun, okay.
So this is a large high ceiling.
Oh, nice.
So that will remain. It'll actually, the food court will kind of flow into it.
Counselor Rawadi, any further questions or comments?
Not at this point.
All right,
You still have a bit of time.
Right.
You still have a bit of time.
you still have time, by the way.
No.
It's an unusual thing to say around here, I'm just.
Oh, sorry, I asked questions midway through.
I think if I can just add one item, I understand Councilor Jeff Brody also asked one time directly about widening some of the internal landscaping, tabletop crosswalk area. Those are all incorporated on the
Very nice.
All right, thank you very much. Just want to say, I've been going through to Cohen Place almost from its day opening. I didn't live in town when it was open. Having said that, I do know that Kildonan Place, believe it or not, Council Roddy, is built within the former rural municipality of North Kildonan, not Transcona. That's just the arbitrary name for the name of the ward. I would call it Transcona, but it really is North Kildonan. And it was just farm fields.
And it's North Kildonan, not Transcona Place.
There you go. North Kildonan Place. There you go. All right. Thank you very much. Any comments?
I could go through the elevations just quickly. This is some of the exterior renderings of what we're thinking for storefront in two views. And then one of the discussions we had with Councillor Wyatt was wayfinding signage, and so we've included some concept renderings for how it could look on the site.
And your new fancy washroom taps as you go into Marshalls. Are you installing more of those anywhere in the mall? Do you know what we mean?
Sorry, what?
If you're a patron of Kildonan Place like that, the fancy washroom taps, the hand dryer actually comes right out of the.
Oh, yeah. I think they ended up removing those because it was spray water. So it was an operations thing.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
From these things. Fair enough. And you're actually changing up the theater yet again? Or is it?
We're demolishing the existing theater.
Demolishing, yeah.
Not the one they just built, the original.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, not the one we just built. Not the one we just built.
No,
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, it's funny how things go when you evolve.
I was originally in the Dominion grocery store if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Yes. Correct.
Fair enough. Well, many memories there as well. Thank you very much. Any further comments? Thank you.
Traditionally, in real estate, movie theaters are challenging because that's concrete that goes on those angles towards the theaters. So
Yeah.
it's structurally like,
What do you do with
like
that?
if you go downtown, like even I think the old City Place, like I think the area where the theaters are is still probably just
Sitting
closed
there like
off,
that with
storage,
the
whatever. Like
rafters on.
I don't think it's been in.
Does make you wonder what else we can use it. All right.
So our next delegation is Gary Bangu. I apologize if I mispronounced that. To be heard with respect to plan approval for 214 Helmsdale Avenue, Report 5, file DASZ 11/2023. Gary, I'm just asking you to unmute and start your video, and you'll have up to 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today virtually with all of you. This is my first time attending one of these community hearings. I'd just like to first thank everyone and bear with me as I kind of maybe perhaps stumble through a little bit of this process. I was told that I should attend by our urban planner in the area, Dylan. And I just have some of the information here that would have been submitted to the committee that I'd like to work through with you. This is a development that we've been working on off of Helmsdale for almost 2.5 years now. We went through a few variations and we've landed on something that the city has endorsed and approved, both the Water and Waste Department, and so far the Rezoning Department as well. And we're just seeking approval through this final step from the committee here so that we can move forward with closing off any remaining permits that we need. I believe it's only one more at this point in time, the zoning development processes, before we can move on to applying for our development permit and then also the building permit as well. So the matter of the discussion today specifically is pertaining to a parking lot here. And this is a parking lot of a larger subdivision, which used to be 220 Helmsdale. Now it's 5 different lots. It's a C1 lot, which is the lot we're looking at right now. And there are a few lots beside it that will be developed over the next several years into perhaps duplexes or triplexes to help us alleviate some of the issues that the city is having with rental demand and maybe also home ownership demand as well. So specifically with this parking lot here, this parking lot will help us spur up some economic development in the area. We own Crystal, the family that owns both 220 Helmsdale. We also own 755 Henderson Highway. So the building that you see on the very left of the site plan, if you have it open, which was in the submitted plans. So this is going to be a parking lot that helps us spur additional economic activity. It'll not just benefit the business owners who own some small retail ground level spaces in the building, but it'll also help us hopefully fill up one office space that we have remaining, which will bring, perhaps 15, 20 extra people into the area that will be working, spending money, going for lunch down the road. The list goes on and on with what the economic activity is that this parking lot will help bring to the area. And then also it's an opportunity for us to use the space to kind of beautify the area. It's a very congested area, and we've got some good green spaces around here. If you go to the building, 75 Henderson Highway, you'll see that it's very cleanly maintained and managed. We like to have a very high level of cleanliness around our building, and we're going to be treating this parking lot the exact same way that we'd be treating the parking lot in front of 755 Henderson Highway as well. So that's just my short elevator pitch here, and I might open up the floor if you have any questions specifically for me. I wasn't planning to go too much into the technical details, but if you'd like to, if you have any questions, we can broach that.
Thank you, Mr. Bangu. My concern, I guess, back in the day when we dealt with this last year, or was it 2 years ago? How long ago was it? Last year? Was it a year ago or over a year ago?
I think it may have been over a year ago, Councillor. It's been quite some time. The process initiated through Landmark, and I believe that there was a plan in place that they were attempting to close off the existing public lane to Helmsdale Avenue. So we've since moved back from requesting the closure of that public lane. And instead, the public lane will remain open to people, the residents of the area, and also, I guess, city workers who may need to get back there as well with their garbage trucks and recycling trucks and whatnot. So this is kind of an acceptable middle ground, I think, that helps the city achieve what it wants to do, which is, of course, keep that public lane open, and then also have an opportunity for us to spur that economic demand that this parking lot will help achieve through, as I had mentioned, additional business at 755 Henderson Highway and additional traffic from employees and also from patrons of the businesses that reside in 755 Henderson Highway.
You mentioned something about the city's concern with housing shortage. I'm not quite sure what applied. I didn't know what you meant.
Oh, well, adjacent to this parking lot, there are 4 other parcels of land. They're not specific to this plan approval. The plan approval for those will come at a later date when the actual drawings and whatnot are put together. But our plan is essentially to have this, small parking lot here, and then we have these 4 other lots that we'll either perhaps sell to another developer or we'll plan to develop over, the next successive years, which will add some stock, some residential stock to the area.
I see 2 lots. I don't see 4 in this case. Maybe I've forgotten. I don't recall everything from, what was it, a year and a half ago when we dealt with this. But
it's 4 lots, Councillor. It's 218, 222, 226, and 230 Helmsdale.
All right. Okay. Thank you. And my concern was back alley spacing. That's one of the concerns I do recall from last time. I guess I gave a little leeway or compromise on the width of the back alley. You're saying that the spacing is important. I guess we dealt with that a year and a half ago. I'm going to assume, I do not recall the specific. We got into some minutiae over that a year and a half ago or so. I guess, well, it would have had to have been dealt with in terms of the specifics from that meeting.
Yes.
All right. And
Yes.
Sorry.
Just to note that would have likely have been a meeting with Landmark as they had initiated this process, and their original plan that they had presented to the owners was to close off the public lane. It wasn't necessarily my plan. I think it makes sense to keep the public lane open there. And the parking lot, it's a good addition to 75 Henderson Highway without removing the public lane. I think it's a good middle ground.
Yeah, my concern was, my recollection of the last meeting on this was that there was some give and take, I guess, on the width of the what would be the back alley. There's concerns over the ability for service vehicles like garbage and recycling, that kind of thing, perhaps even fire vehicles to access most effectively the back alley. We did go through that last time. Didn't see any change or request for change for this. So I'm going to assume that which we kind of took quite a bit of time last meeting is dealt with in this. I don't see any change from your proposal today, nor what you said. And I've got no further questions or comments. Councilor Browadi? Are you?
No, again, I mean, I think this is a reasonable approach to dealing with the former church site. It's a mix of family, residential, and again, you know, as stated, I mean, citywide, countrywide, we seem to have lots of new Canadians moving to the country and the need for housing at all levels, whether it's basic entry level housing or moving up the housing spectrum. But at the same time, this is the old East Kildonan City Hall building we're talking about here, and the need for some additional parking to accommodate what was built there, and I think this is reasonable.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate your time this morning. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Okay, our next delegation is Joe Sobering, Facilities Manager for Lexington Real Estate Holdings Limited, to be heard with respect to plan approval for 630 Kernahan Avenue, Unit 14, Report 8, file DAZ 218/2012. Neven, are you going to be presenting at the same time as well?
I'll be presenting, yes.
Excellent. Yes, you can come forward. You'll have up to 10 minutes to make your presentation. And I can help you get set up here.
And Councilor Browadi, you're saying that this is the one that you think we need to make sure we.
Yeah, I'll make some comments on it, but yeah.
Joe. Okay, you're Joe.
Yeah.
I see. Destin, are you going to be speaking as well?
Yes, so just to introduce myself, my name is Neven Ramasomi. I'm the Facilities Engineering Manager for Newfly Industries. And Joe Sobering, the owner, representative of Lexington, and Jesse Nugent from DGH Engineering, who is our prime consulting firm on this project. So,
We have Gary on the line too.
I'll take it. If we could just get an additional suspension of the rules to allow Jesse to present.
So moved.
Motion carries.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting us to the committee meeting today. We'll be going through the development at 630 Kernahan on behalf of our New Flyers project. And on the next slide, quick agenda. We're going to go through an overview of our project, and we're going to go through a summary of the development at that location, quick site plan of the area, and some renderings of the future state. So basically, the goal for New Flyer here is with this development project is to increase our volume from 16 units, and when we say units, it's in terms of buses that we make, to 20 units per week. So these 4 additional units will be for our full Canadian build that will be delivered to our Canadian authority customers here. All these 4 units will be built fully assembled at our 7-Eleven facility, and the development at the 630 will allow us to complete these units on all the finishing processes like wheel alignment. We're going to have commissioning of electric buses, as well as paint touch-up inside, getting us to acceptance by the customer and delivery. This project is currently supported and funded by the Prairies Economic Development Canada and the government of Manitoba, which we are grateful and thankful for. On the next slide, just on the top picture, as you can see, Transcona Building 1 is our 7-Eleven Canadian facility where we do all our current production. And the B2 is on the across the Canadian street, which is where we'll be looking at the development. We currently have our NPD new product development and our NFI parts division already set up there, and we'll be looking at the southwest corner, which we are calling the new CAD building for customer acceptance and delivery. So a quick summary on those developments. So as I did mention, the southwest corner is the location that we'll be looking at developing right now. We're not looking at any expansion or reduction of the building. Those 4 units that we'll be looking at making weekly, it's going to be a combination of 40 feet buses and 60 feet. So it can be 4 40 feet or 2 60 feet units, or it can be a combination of 2 40 and 1 60. Some of the major upgrades that we are looking at are the electrical distribution that we'll be looking at upgrading from 1000 kVA to 2500 kVA. We're going to have hydrogen and diesel fuel capabilities for our fuel cell, hydrogen battery buses, and diesel buses. And that's going to be located on the southwest corner of the site. We're going to have nitrogen system that with a vaporizer and a tank. These are used to purge those hydrogen tanks, and that's going to be located on the north side of the site. We're going to have a paint booth inside the building with 20 feet high stacks, overhead charger for electric buses. That's going to be on the west side of the building. We're going to be looking at doing some asphalt upgrade on the west side to level with the building, as well as some servicing done on the south side. We're going to have 11 new overhead doors on the west side and 1 on the south of the building. We're going to be adding employee parking, 79 of them for guests as well, and 14 for the buses that we'll be completing. Here's the site map, just all the items I've been mentioning. So as you can see on the west side, we have the employee parking. South of it will be our future hydrogen and diesel fuel station. North, as you can see, the nitrogen system close to the building for our processes. The overhead charger on the west side of the building. On the south, the new 2500 kVA transformer and the bus parking on the south side. A couple of renderings. DGH Engineering has been working with us. As you can see on the top left picture, the southwest site, the hydrogen and the diesel tank, and you can see the southwest corner of the building with the parking and the bus parking. On the right-hand side, the northwest side view, the employee parking in there, and the west side of the building with all the overhead doors. Bottom left picture, the view of our overhead charger to the building, and on the south view, the bus parking and the south side of the building. This concludes our presentation for our plan today. If the committee has any questions for us.
Roy?
Thank you very much for your presentation today. Thank you. So just to understand, at the moment, a bus destined for a Canadian Transit Authority still requires a final completion down in Crookston?
Correct, yes.
So once this facility is up and operational, a bus designed for being shipped to Ontario or BC or whatever, it won't have to necessarily cross into the United States for any of the work.
Correct, yes, it will be for the Canadian market.
Okay.
We referring to this as New Flyer, only at the end do we see New Flyer MCI, Motor Coach Industries. To some degree, this is not necessarily our business, but I don't know where to draw that line as a citizen of Winnipeg and as a Canadian, understanding the relationship between these two companies. When we're talking about the New Flyer proposal here, we're talking about MCI at the same time.
No, this is solely for New Flyer.
Okay, solely for New Flyer. And at this moment, I recognize hydrogen fuel as a fossil fuel, given its source coming from ethanol, which is a fossil fuel. On that, however, things move on. It doesn't mean that we're not continuing with experimentation and continuing on the technological process and progress to see where we land in the future on optimizing our resources and technology. At this moment, maybe this isn't for me to told, I don't know. We do deal with this at the City of Winnipeg with our transit buses. You get your, I'm assuming the hydrogen is from ethanol, and it comes in from Alberta. I'm assuming, given that's where most of the ethanol is.
Yeah. Right now, we are working on the plan of getting a supply set up from our suppliers right now, which we haven't put in place. We are working with a couple of them, like Lindy, Praxair, in order to provide this.
Oh, sorry?
Lindy and Praxair, and we have other suppliers. So we are working with a supply team.
I see.
So that's set up. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Any further questions, Councilor Bellotti? All right. And our planners been working diligently with our applicants and
So we're supportive of it.
okay. Thank you very much, Dylan. All right. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that concludes delegations.
Reports.
All right. Reports. Report number 1. Take it away for Harris.
So report number 1 is the Chalmers Neighborhood Renewal Corporation supporting access to good eating sage at Chalmers Community Corner item. This was related to part of the Land Dedication Reserve Fund that was approved by council on January 30th. One of the conditions just was that they were to provide their plans to the committee.
All right.
And they are on the agenda, linked to the end.
All right. And do we have anyone here? I have spoken with Leilani Villarba, Leilani Esteban Villarba about this issue. And I've seen this already. Is there anyone here?
We didn't have anyone
Okay,
registered.
fine, that's fine. I've actually gone through this. Just looking forward to it. Just so you know, this is, well, I mean, it's a square where things can change, things can move around. We're going to live and learn, and things are going to evolve. This includes my train cars, well, shipping containers, and these revolve a greater food access concept here at the corner of Johnson and Henderson with the Chalmers Neighborhood Renewal Corporation. Yep, there's all sorts of purposes for the square, and we've got some high hopes for providing people what they need, and including the train cars. The visual for this, it's in the right corner because these are going to be climate controlled, insulated shipping containers that can be frozen, refrigerated, room temperature, and happens to be that right in the top of this photo there in the northeast corner in the back alley, given the apartments there, that we do have the 3-phase electrical that can be hooked up to power these frozen and refrigeration, freezing and refrigeration climate controlled shipping containers for the food that we'll be bringing in for our food rescue and food oasis. as well as looking forward to, well, they've moved the stage over to the other corner, and that's fine. There's still room here for, to bring in tents, run half of it, as a matter of fact, because other organizations do rent the space. And, yeah, I'm just looking forward to another season of CNRC, wonderful events in the corner, as well as supporting access to good eating, which is the SAGE, how are we calling it now? Supporting access to good eating. Yeah, Leilani is really good with her acronyms. So supporting access to good eating, SAGE, not to be confused with FAB, the Food Access Bus, which I rented a a bus, and we go around picking up seniors and taking them shopping. And not to be confused with the BAG, the Better Access to Groceries, also run by the CNRC, and very pleased to be involved in that, my family volunteering for that program. All right, having said that, Councilor Brawadi, if you would take the chair.
Sure.
And I do move approval of said plans.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I'm gonna keep the chair for number 2 there for you.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is a big day for Chalmers and Glen Elm. This is on walking distance to all of this stuff. This is my neighborhood, both of these things. And yeah, another big one. This is going to be Helga doing some great work, working with the community, working with the city of Winnipeg. I don't think it's been a nightmare for Dylan Chisland and others. There has been some notable changes just to accommodate the city's needs and their priorities. Helga has been excellent at essentially changing her plans almost entirely to accommodate everybody. And so I'm pretty pleased that this is going ahead. Very pleased to be able to provide funding. This looks like it's the first leg. There's more to go on this. And I'm just looking at what it is today that we are supporting. Yes, hats off to Helga Jacobson. As I said, working with the community, work with the Glen Elm Neighborhood Association, being Michelle Duran Wood as well. These days, the chair of the Glen Elm Neighborhood Association, Gina. And yep, I've heard some good things from the community as well, including those that are not that easy to please. I'll put it that way. And so this is just a wonderful consensus project for the community. We look forward to greater community gardens. And on that basis, I move approval of, at this time, there's more to come, but at this time, $24,500 from the East Kildonan Transcona Community Land Dedication Reserve Fund for the purposes of the installation of the community garden phase 1 project. And good luck to Dylan Chisland and the department as we will be moving forward after this one next year as well. There's some further developments here. The community gardens here at what we call Roxy Park, what the city understands as being Elmwood Park.
Very good. Sounds like a good project. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Move on to report 3. Stadacona, it's still in your ward. I'll keep the chair for you.
Yes. Oh, this is a motion of extension of
Extension of time.
Yeah, sure. Okay, good. I wasn't ready for this. All right. Okay, so yes, I move extension of time for the subdivision rezoning at 175, 179 Stadacona Street at 335 Tweed Avenue.
Okay, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I'll hand the chair back.
Great. Item number 4, Clerk Harris. Is that where we're at?
Yes, that's the extension of time for the subdivision and rezoning at 1380 Ravelston Avenue West.
I'll move it.
Okay, and so carried. Motion carries.
Can we take the chair for number 5? Or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So that is the plan approval for 214 Helmsdale Avenue.
Yeah, so that's great. It was great presentation. We went through this, we really went through this as well already a year and a half ago. And in fact, so this is the third time this has come to us, this time with the plan approval. And a lot of work, a lot of compromise is being put into this. And once again, thanks to our planners. How many worked on this one, Tom? If you recall.
Well, there was another planner who was working in the, Dylan Harris, who was working in the district
Yeah,
for the subdivision rezoning, so he would have done that one and then he's taken on another position and I finished it off with plan approval.
All right. Thank you very much. And I move plan approval.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 6, I'll hand it back to you.
Sure.
That is the plan approval for 701 Pandora Avenue West.
All right. Do I wish to make a motion, Councillor
Um,
Rawadi?
I haven't reviewed this one yet. Is there
Enough.
any time sensitivity on this one?
Yeah, good point.
Not to my awareness, this is the first time that it's come on the agenda. I can provide an overview of the project.
I'm willing to attend a special meeting on this one to
Yeah,
Take it
maybe
back
let
for Wyatt's
Counselor.
and-
Yeah, I don't know any. I have no history on this one at all. So
Yeah, I
maybe,
would.
I'll just move Leo. And there's no delegation here either. So I'll move Leo over to the next meeting of EKT or a special meeting if needed.
Or, yeah, and that's fine for the motion, Clerk Harris, to say that. We have a special meeting too if so needed.
So I can do we'll do up to 30 days.
Yeah.
Up to 3 days. There you go. That'll
That makes sense.
That was good. All right, that is the motion.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
That's 7.
That's number 7. That's the plan approval for 1555 Regent Avenue West.
And now we're rolling right along.
Yeah, I just want to put on the record, very happy to see Primaris continuing to invest in a regional shopping center in the city of Winnipeg. Regional shopping centers in Canada in particular are having a tough go. Very excited to see that, despite the pandemic, that the investment and the, new food court and the removal of the movie theater is progressing. And I know it's, a lot of it is showing future phases and that's okay too. I know Councillor Wyatt, is fairly particular about some of these things, so I should have asked if they're planning to break ground on anything in the immediate future. They can't participate really from the audience, but if there was a nod to say that they are starting something right away.
Oh,
I will move suspension of the rules to allow the delegation to come back.
we can do that.
Suspension of the rules to change the sequencing of the agenda to go back into delegation.
Yes.
All right.
I had a couple other questions actually too, so let's
Do
do
that.
that.
All right, motion carries.
Sorry, Ray.
Hey, no problem.
I didn't ask, what is the time frame for breaking ground and starting work?
We put in the application in January
Okay.
for plan approval.
Yeah.
It is very time sensitive. We need to deliver the space. We have leases signed
Okay.
for tenants. The holdup with the plan approval application was the overload of work in the zoning department that got pushed back, and there's no meeting in March. Now we're in April.
Okay, it is timely. I know there was some discussion, and again, tying infrastructure improvements to a plan approval is what it is. Reinders has become a much busier street in recent times since it was punched through to Peguis. What would be the extension of Rougeau through the parking lot there? That intersection what would be the extension of Rougeau and Reinders has become very, very busy. PM rush hour, if you're trying to make a left-hand westbound turn from the parking lot of the mall onto Reinders can be very challenging. People going partway through and waiting for the traffic that's coming from Peguis. If this was any type of other hearing, we'd probably be going after trying to get at least a portion of the traffic signals to be paid for by the applicant. Any comments from the public service on anything there to deal with that potential future problem?
Yeah,
Not even future problem, current problem.
fair point. The plan approval is not the mechanism that we recommend to deal with
Okay,
servicing.
right.
It would be through, well, subdivision and rezoning. And I'm not familiar with, their obligations going back deeper into this. We can have a look into that and provide that information after the meeting.
There was some discussion, should, you know, I'll admit it, last night I went through this mall parking lot to get from the shopping mall of Region Rougeau, the Eastwind Shopping Center, I think it's called, to get to, Reinders to get back to La Jamodier, because less lights and less busy than Region Avenue West, so it functions often. I've got in-laws that live in that neighborhood. I go through the mall parking lot on a regular basis to get home. Some discussion whether or not it should in fact be a public right of way if the mall wanted to surrender it, or if they're happy operating what functions as a public right of way, so be it, but
My understanding is that Public Works has not expressed an interest in taking over that right of way, but we can have I can
But we'll
go back with
we'll
Public
separate
Works
that
and
from the
provide
plan
that to
approval.
you.
Okay, I just was wanting to make sure we're not missing an opportunity here. Okay,
Yeah, I think that opportunity is down the road if they ever rezone the northeast side
Right.
for multifamily or densification. That's down the road, but plan approval, we're in the middle of the property. We're not even close to that intersection.
who owns the land at the rear of Canadian Tire? Is that Primaris or is it?
Primaris,
It
yes.
is. So if that,
That
how,
has been in discussion with us on future densification. And the north-south road, we have also initiated at the request of the council, we've talked to Public Works. Transportation and Public Works has no interest of taking that north-south road. And Transit have no interest in relocating the bus loop.
Okay.
So those two exercises that we have asked to initiate, we did.
Okay.
And have a result, and a group meeting was held with both departments.
and Primaris is not removing the transit loop from the
No, we're not.
the south side of the mall.
That's outside, no.
Okay.
We're just reallocating the park and ride.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Sorry to bring you back.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair, based on that additional information, at this time, I'm moving approval of the submitted plans.
Thank you, Councillor Rawadi, for your vigilance on this one and for getting through your extra questions. And so your motion passes.
So this brings us to our last item on the regular agenda, which is the plan approval for 630 Kernahan Avenue, Unit 14.
Thank you. I had the, I'm gonna call it honor of representing Mayor Gillingham, I think it was last fall. It was last fall, maybe October, at the announcement with Minister Van Dal as well as Premier Canoe for their investments in New Flyer to allow Canada's premier bus manufacturer to complete the complete buses destined for the Canadian market, all in Canada. Through the pandemic, I know Mayor Gillingham had regular conversations with Paul Soubry from New Flyer, and he was quite appreciative of the mayor's commitment to be there, and that's why he really wanted the mayor to be present at that event. I think he was busy that day hiring a new police chief and asked me to go in his stead, and it is quite impressive the presence of New Flyer across North America. With the current status, of course, with tariffs being a very looming threat, stuff moving back and forth, the impact of on their business is still, I can't imagine what they're going through, and things are still changing on a daily basis. So if moving this approval ahead can help make buses in Canada sooner, I'm quite comfortable with the diligence they've had, as well as their work with the province, the federal government to get to this point. I'm quite impressed that it's moving along this quick. So I'm prepared to move the plan approval of the public service recommendation to approve the submitted plans.
Sure, and it is always impressive to see such level and such scale of such impressive engineering industrial industry here, right here in Winnipeg, and knowing and seeing with my own eyes, driving around North America, where you never know, or you can know where you're going to see new flyer buses, including in my second election in 2018, having a picture of me in front of a new flyer bus in San Francisco. And it was very heartening to see. Of course, given our challenges in international trade right now, North American trade, gives me some sense of security that there are those that will be using their intelligence and resources towards maintaining positive trade for the necessity of our greater society. And that's why I just have to say it. So it gives me hope when I see something like this. It's important. And on that basis, Moulton carries.
So that concludes the regular agenda.
Perfect. I'm good to move straight into public hearing. Do you need a minute or?
Do I know?
Nope.
Not good. We should.
So yes, let's go.
Okay. So we'll just call public hearing to order.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much and good morning. We are now called the public hearing section of this regularly scheduled meeting of the East Kelowna Transform Community Committee. What is the date today again? April 8th, 2025. I'm this year's chair, Jason Schreier, City Council for the Elmwood East Kelowna Ward. I'm joined as well with Jeff Pilati, who is the City Council for the North Kelowna Ward. Happens to be at this time. Do we need to ask again for absence, leave of absence for
No, the original.
that stays on this basis? I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the home traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. And our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40, First Nation in Treaty 33 territory. And at this point, we're prepared to take it away.
In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it's your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be a part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is a rezoning at 815 Pandora Avenue West under file DAZ 216/2024. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 2 is a variance at 815 Pandora Avenue West under file DAV 234233/2024D. Please note additional communications were received for information on the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. The process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application, those registered in opposition, and those registered for information. The applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. At this time, I will turn it over to the public service for a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Good morning, councillors. This is a proposal to rezone 815 Pandora Avenue West from C3 Commercial Corridor District to RMFL Residential Multifamily Large District. The subject property is located on the north side of Pandora Avenue West in the Regent neighborhood of the Transcona Ward. The site is 9,317 square feet in area and currently occupied by a 1.5-story building constructed in 1926 and used as a single-family residence. There is a detached garage located at the rear of the property, and the property has access to Pandora from a front approach. It is located within an established neighborhood's recent community policy area of Complete Communities 2.0 and Zone C3. The applicant is proposing to rezone from C3 to RMFL to construct an 18-unit multifamily residential dwelling. The proposed building is 4 stories in height with enclosed parking on the first floor and residential units above. It is approximately 62 feet wide by 105 feet deep and 55 feet high. There are 18 parking stalls included, including 2 accessible and 0 van accessible, with indoor secure bike parking for 16 bicycles on the second floor. Vehicle access will remain from a new front approach on Pandora Avenue, And the landscaping plan shows street edge and foundation plantings totaling 5 trees and 18 shrubs. For the building design, there are there are balconies on the east and west facing sides of the building. And the facade of the building feature fiber cements, lap siding, fiber cement shakes, and cultured stone as the primary cladding materials. The proposed development requires variances for the lot area, the yard setbacks, balcony projections, and the parking requirements. Currently, the land is zoned C3 commercial, which is intended primarily for uses that provide commercial goods and services to residents of the community in areas that are dependent on automobile access and exposed to heavy automobile traffic, but not including regional shopping malls or regional shopping areas. These commercial uses are subject to frequent view by public and visitors to Winnipeg, and they should provide an attractive appearance with landscaping, sufficient parking, and controlled traffic movement. C3 districts are generally located in community or regional mixed-use centers or along community or regional mixed-use corridors. The proposed zone is going to be RMFL, Residential Multifamily Large District, which is intended to accommodate the development of multifamily units in areas with medium to high residential densities. As noted previously, this is within a recent community under complete communities where multifamily development is generally encouraged. In the case of the subject site, the proposal intensifies an existing residential use from 1 dwelling unit to 18 dwelling units. The property is the sole residential use in an otherwise commercial block. However, the area south of Pandora Avenue West is largely residential. The area is well served by public transportation, and service is expected to improve in the short and long term under the Winnipeg Transit Master Plan. There is access to commercial services to the north, as well as employment opportunities in the area. The applicant has submitted a design that demonstrates a high-quality pedestrian-oriented urban environment and aligns with the design policies of Complete Communities 2.0. More specifically, the building and site design encompass the following considerations. The building is oriented towards the street and situated near a future sidewalk connection. There are windows on all sides and all floors of the building to encourage eyes on the street. There are balconies that help animate the east and west sides of the building. The internal parking area is completely concealed from public view, and the building incorporates a quality facade design and uses a combination of cladding materials and multiple roof lines to break up the massing on the front facade. The Water and Waste Department has determined there is adequate capacity for water and sewer for what has been proposed, and the Public Works Department is recommending the installation of a multi-use path along Pandora Avenue West, running the full length of the subject property. The Urban Planning and Design Division recommends approval for the following reasons. The proposal is consistent with the policies guiding development within established neighborhoods of recent communities under Complete Communities 2.0, where multifamily is generally supported. The proposal has been well designed and is pedestrian oriented with access to quality transit. The design enhances the overall look of the street edge along Pandora Avenue West, and the proposal will help the city reach its residential intensification goals under Complete Communities 2.0. Planning is also recommending the applicant submit a parking management plan to be approved by the Director of Planning, Property and Development prior to the issuance of permits. This condition is to address the lack of guest parking on site, for which the applicant requested a variance to have 0 guest spaces instead of 2. That concludes our presentation. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay, sorry, just a correction. Public Works is recommending that the developer shall pay cash in demand instead of constructing the path, the multi-use path.
So cash in demand is that's a parallel to LVR payment, or?
This site is a small piece of the frontage along Pandora. Public Works' ultimate plan is to continue the path that is on the east side of Plessy, which is both an AT pathway, a 3.5 meter asphalt AT pathway, as well as a sidewalk. Looking at the frontage and the cost involved, it does not make sense to obligate this individual to construct both the entire length. And it seems even unreasonable for them to construct or pay their share of both the sidewalk and the AT path. So Public Works' position is that they just pay their share of their frontage for the AT path. It's not in lieu of LVR.
Okay, so it's not like a parallel to LDR. Is there any, there's no term for it, but is there a precedence for this? It makes
Yeah,
sense to
so
me.
this runs consistent with the development agreement parameters that are endorsed by council, that developers pay their share of benefiting infrastructure for their site. Because they're doing a multifamily complex on this location, it makes sense to have active transportation and sidewalk access. So therefore, it fits within the development agreement parameters that they pay their share of those services.
And,
Yeah, okay, sorry, Counselor.
no, go ahead.
So do they register like something to title says that like we can call this at any time? Like how does
So
this
there's
go
a
work?
standard rate. It actually went down this year. It was $225 per linear foot last year. This year it's $190.
And construction deflation?
So again, it gets complicated, but yeah, we're seeing a decrease in tender prices. Over the last 3 years. I think it's a knock on from the inflation we experienced on
Yeah.
COVID and we swamped the system. But yeah, we have a rate, we'll invoice prior to the release of Mylars and it'll be done.
It'll be whatever the rate is when we're actually constructing it or based on what it
It'll be
is?
the rate at the time we invoice, and that'll be prior to the release of the Mylars here.
So it'll be today.
Oh, no, sorry, this is on demand. So this will be secured. If the developer is interested, we can entertain invoicing now, or we would hold security in place until.
Okay.
Sorry, my mistake.
Okay.
So 2% of my anecdotal witness, I will say construction deflation has occurred. 2% of these things from my anecdotal perspective here, but thank you.
It also went up 30% last year, so it's really just a readjustment from that.
Fair enough. And what is in fact going down? What is the cost that's going down?
What is that?
Well, you're saying it's
Possibility AT path.
the cost of the AT path is.
So that's our standard rate.
Yeah.
Again, it's based on the tenders from the last 3 years, so it's trending downwards, but again, I think that's because of the experience of the COVID bubble.
Yeah. All right, let's just see. All right, any further questions or comments?
Nope.
Good. Thank you very much.
So at this time, we can call the applicant forth, John Winthrop. You have up to 10 minutes to make your presentation after you state your name.
Good morning, John Winthrop. I was back here in January for this application. I did a nice presentation then. I don't know if the committee wants me to go through it. At the conclusion of it, it really came down to the sidewalk versus an AT path along Pandora. My client who's here in the audience had we have no preference. We don't really, it was something that I think the elected officials and the public service needed to sort out amongst themselves. There was no opposition then. We're of course in favor of it. I think it's a wonderful project. We really would like to get going. We made the application back in June. We were thinking we were going to be under construction this year. It's already April now. So we've waited a bit to get an answer, hopefully today, about whether it's up to the committee to decide. We don't care if you want the money up front or you want us to construct it. Our preference would be either an AT path or a sidewalk, not both. I think that's fair. If you recall the discussion back in January, there is an existing portion of a sidewalk along the north side, but apologies, that goes from Plessis east to, if you know the driveway going into the credit union, it stops around there. And there was some discussion and not clarity about whether or not that sidewalk should be extended all the way down or a new AT path. It sounds like Public Works has indicated they'd like to extend I believe an AT path. Again, we have no preference. We think the pedestrian or the cycling would be a good amenity either way. We'll pay our fair share or whatever the committee wants us to do.
Okay.
We just want to get going.
Yeah, gotcha.
Need we make a decision today on whether it's a sidewalk or an AT path?
Yeah, you gotta put something in there, whether we're paying it or constructing it or what we're doing. That's what the decision's here.
So is there nothing there today?
Nothing.
There's nothing there today.
So
would your recommendation, sorry, but would your recommendation be?
The recommendation is that they pay their share and that it'll be constructed in due course.
And who decides what it'll be, whether it'll be a sidewalk or an AT path?
Well, again, the plan is for both.
Okay, the plan is for both, okay.
Like if you use, if you look to the east side of Plessy, you'll see that it has both, an AT path, by the way.
So Public Works wants both.
Eventually, yes.
So the recommendation is if we put them to build the AT path in the future, but they have to build the sidewalk now.
Recommendation is that they pay their share of the AT path, and that is it.
And what about
But
the
do they have to build
sidewalk?
a sidewalk now?
They don't have to build a side, the recommendation is.
Why would we go with nothing now? How's that a good recommendation from our public service?
Sure. The frontage of this site.
Sorry, sorry, that was rude. I'm sorry.
Fair question.
Please, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, totally fair question. So the frontage of this site, is 23 meters. So what's that, like 75 feet? The entire length of the sidewalk that would need to be created is approximately 1,300 feet. So it doesn't really make sense to have somebody whose obligation is for 75 feet to construct 1,300 feet of sidewalk. There is no budget item that we can reimburse them at this time. So if you wish, you could have them construct, and we can do it subject to capital funding being made available. But there's no guarantee that capital funding will be made available in the short term.
But just in terms of connectivity, if there is, even if it's a lousy sidewalk in the immediate vicinity, would it not make sense to extend, even if it changes between sidewalk and AT?
Yep, 100%. But it's a situation of scale. If their obligation is for 75 feet at $200 a foot, what is that? 15 grand? It doesn't make sense for them to, instead of paying their 15 grand, to construct $180,000 worth of sidewalk and then be reimbursed over the next 3 to 10 years. Like that is, to me, an unreasonable request to the developer. If there was capital funding already allocated for this sidewalk, it would make sense for them to construct it and then we could reimburse it, but there is not.
What is the active transportation plan say about, is this a key high priority route in our master plan?
So I do have Chris Baker from Public Works on the Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay.
He is probably better to take on the additional questions.
Hi, Chris.
Morning. How's everyone today?
You've been listening in, sorry.
I've been here, yeah, no, and I understand, Counselor, I didn't take offense, because this is an odd situation. Maybe I'll just reiterate a little bit of what Kevin said. So east of Plessy's, we have a 2-way bike lane and a sidewalk. They're separated. That's actually the ideal configuration. Then people on bikes and e-bikes are separated from people walking. So the intent is to extend that cross section through here. It is a low priority in the current draft pedestrian cycling strategies. So there isn't a timeline when we would do that. So our recommendation was to take the cash for the bike lane portion, the wider portion, and leave the sidewalk out, because it is that's a pretty big ask for such a small site. This is a tiny, pretty small parcel compared to all the other ones, or just this run of Pandora. It's couple dozen meters. So our rationale was we would take the cash for the more expensive of the two. And then when this project gets prioritized, we would have that at our disposal to help fund the extension of the Pandora AT facilities west of Plessy.
Okay, so if we made them build a sidewalk, though, it would not be connected. There's another hole. The property immediately to the east does not have anything.
That's correct. There would be a gap. So that's why we didn't. If there was a sidewalk up to this parcel, then we would have recommended the applicant build the sidewalk 100%.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I think I understand now. My apologies. I thought there was something at least leading up to the site.
No,
If
it was, again, that would make 100% sense, but
okay.
Doing discontinuous sidewalk really doesn't help.
Yep. Got it. Sorry, my apologies. Now I feel okay. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks.
As they said, Councilor Brody, there's no need for apologies on that. You just doing your job. So thank you.
I can be nice.
Oh, you're all right.
We're flexible.
So I talked to my client, if you want the sidewalk in now.
Yeah.
Extend it up to like our property and
Right.
as what we want to be compensated for the property to the east of us.
Understandably.
So that one, I think, was for sale last time I was out there. I could see it potentially redeveloping and requiring an approval, and we would get paid back off that property.
You're
We
okay
don't
if
want
we do
to.
cash on demand and
Yeah, so we're prepared to construct it if you want it constructed.
you just want to go.
Yeah, we want to get
I
going.
got it done.
Yeah, so we're prepared to do that, construct a sidewalk, or if you want the AT path, that would go from Plessis to our property, but I think extending the sidewalk to our front door. I don't know about extending the sidewalk past us.
Right.
Even the property to, is the hotel. I don't think anybody's walking behind the hotel there. Maybe in the future. I'm not sure if there's gonna be any future bus stops along that stretch there, under the new transit. But we certainly think people from our building would walk up to Plessis, and a sidewalk makes sense and for us to construct it, as long as we got, payback.
Right. And there's a sidewalk on the south side of the street.
South side of the street, yeah, it's a wide.
People aren't gonna cross to use that sidewalk to just, yeah,
Yeah,
I get it.
but we're prepared to do that. If you want cash and demand, we'll do that, but we're just looking to get going here.
So the site, it was a car dealership or what was it directly to the?
This was like a house.
No, directly to the east.
Oh, yeah, it was a car dealership. It's for sale now though.
Yeah.
And I can see the zoning probably changing.
Okay.
Or somebody doing something different there, maybe.
And then on the corner of Pandora and Plessy, is that a credit union or something?
Yeah, it's the credit union. I think
And Wendy's in front of that on Regent. Okay. Okay.
Come on, I'm sure you've been to that hotel there.
I may have at some point in my past, yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
So that's why we think that we could construct a sidewalk and we could likely get paid back maybe, but we're willing to get going here and construct it. So
Okay.
there's an amenity for our residents.
Got it.
We're prepared to do that as well. That's the direction of the committee.
Very good. Cool. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, so we had no one else registered for this meeting to speak in support of the application. Just looking to the gallery, is there anyone here who would like to speak in support of the application? Seeing none. We did not have anyone registered in opposition. Is there anyone in opposition in the gallery? Seeing none. And we had no one for information. I'll just say there's no one in the gallery who would like to speak for information. So this time we got questions for the public service.
I guess would you have any language, if we go with your new recommendation that we require that they put the AT portion in on demand? Do you have some language to make in terms of what
Yeah,
we would change?
I would need 5 minutes to change a bunch of stuff, but 100% we can accommodate that.
I think my intention is I'd like to move a motion to support this application and to specifically require that on demand, the applicant would be responsible to pay for an active transportation path for the width of the property only.
Yeah, that's the public service recommendation.
Or
There's no changes.
And then the rest would take place. Sorry, then the rest would take place in terms of before plan approval. All that will be worked out, given the understanding of today. Or you said you needed 5 minutes to.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna
No.
change the public services recommendation to construct, but
No, not to construct, but to
pay their share of the AT.
yeah, was that already in the administrative report?
That's my understanding. That is the
That is the actual.
That's our current recommendation.
Okay.
And does it need to be part of today's proposal in terms of where it goes? Or will that be part of the plan approval and negotiating with the
So if we go with-
administration and the applicant?
If we go with today's public services recommendation, we would just pay their share. So
And then
then the public service
we'll do their thing.
would look at it at another time. It's within our right of way, so it's not part of the plan approval.
That's what's important.
Chris would set up the alignments.
Okay.
If the development to the east, directly to the east does move forward,
Right.
it would be the public services recommendation that applicant
That's what I'd like to
construct the entire length of sidewalk, including this one, and we would reimburse them for their share for the frontage.
Like if the car lot redevelops, we would probably at that point pull that trigger. So
So on that basis, we need no change in wording.
No change. This is our recommendation.
I'm comfortable enough with this.
All right. We've got an oral understanding here live with Kevin, so you know what we're doing. All right. Great. We're ready to go.
Why one and not both?
Sorry,
Why one and not
Yeah.
both?
Chris?
If the
I'm
future
sorry, why did we ask for just the bike path and not both the bike path and the sidewalk?
Redundancy.
Sorry, is that the question?
yes.
Well, again, it's such a small frontage and smaller development. We felt like this is kind of abnormal to double up. So, if this was a much bigger development, then maybe we would have contemplated that ask. But again, it's a small site, and we're cognizant of the development process and what these applicants are up for in terms of costs and stuff. So we didn't want to be unreasonable with that ask.
What's the cost difference per foot between AT path versus sidewalk?
It honestly depends on the construction tender. Like we see quite a bit of variability on the AT paths. The sidewalk typically.
But I guess my problem here is I don't maybe see this AT path being it's identified not as a high priority. There's a lot of AT paths to build. Is it more realistic that we're going to build a sidewalk here?
We could do an amendment to change the wording.
I'm asking the question.
I know, and I think
Yeah.
this is a good direction, and Chris can
Yep.
support me on this idea, but we could change the wording that it's to pay their share of whichever comes first, an AT path or a sidewalk, and then it just covers both bases.
Kevin, if I can jump in, I think that's a good idea. We don't make our recommendations contemplating neighboring development unless we know something, and we weren't aware that this property was for sale, or it's hard to speculate from our perspective. But if that is the likely scenario that the car dealership redevelops, then we would get a sidewalk. We would probably recommend a sidewalk for that development, and then if this one, we're able to use the money for this sidewalk, then all of a sudden we've got a sidewalk from here all the way to Plessy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good outcome here.
Okay.
Great idea,
So
Councilor.
Kevin, that would just be a wording change to say path or sidewalk kind of thing, and we can go from there.
Start
Okay.
with
That would just be in section 2, servicing conditions, just add multi-use path, have the developer shall pay to the city in cash on demand their share of a 3.5 meter wide asphalt multi-use pathway or sidewalk on the North Boulevard. Is it just the addition of the words and or sidewalk?
exactly.
Okay, understood.
I would say or concrete sidewalk.
Or concrete sidewalk?
Good. Thank you.
All right.
Is that an addition? That's a changing of the words.
That is an amendment.
And Schedule B of the APG report.
We need to vote on that then? We'll be.
It'll be part of the motion coming forward here. If okay. All right. I think based on that, that's good enough. I think Councillor Wyatt should be reasonably happy enough with that.
Fair enough. Now, does this stop there to be a sidewalk later on? So there could still be one.
It's public, it's open, it's public right away, so it would fall to the city to construct it. Or for us to organize someone else to construct it, however, it would be subject to the normal process of UGS and design review.
I mean, I'd like to see this connected to the sidewalk network sooner than later on the north side of Pandora. And if that property immediately to the east were developed, that'd be the perfect trigger to get that done, and it could happen reasonably soon. So my only concern is if we're requesting an AT path and it's that restrictive. Again, the future plan is to eventually see an AT path along that north side of Pandora, but that may not happen in our lifetimes because there is the potential trigger of that car dealership. Let's leave that flexibility in there now because we'll actually see something sooner than later. So that's my thinking.
Fair enough. Councillor Rawadi, and thank you for your insights on this and on that basis.
Ready for motions, yeah.
Yep.
So on the rezoning of 815 Pandora Avenue West, DAZ 216-2024, I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
Motion carries.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
Motion carries.
I move that the report of the the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service,
Be concurred in with the following amendments in section II of the ACG report, add the words or concrete sidewalk immediately after the words multi-use pathway.
and proceed to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. By supporting reasons, supporting reasons right now?
Correct.
Yeah. Supporting reasons are, again, on the north side of Pandora, we don't really see any residential homes anymore. It was at one point zoned, we are rezoning it from commercial to multifamily. I think this is a good compatible use for the immediate vicinity and consistent with the city's planning policies.
Okay. All right, and I concur in Councillor Rawadi's supporting reasons, and on that basis, the motion is on the floor and motion carries.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
Motion carries.
Please note the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the subdivision rezoning. All persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
Okay, on the variance, I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
Motion carries.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
Motion carries.
I move that in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance A is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan. B does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway. C is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property. And D is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. The variances are fairly minor in effect, especially considering what is immediately in the bordering properties. So I think I believe these are appropriate and support the public services recommendations.
Great. Motion carries.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and the variance be approved.
Motion carries.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
Please note the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
I move consent and adjournment.
Yes, and adjournment. Thank you to all.